Hey, Fran fam. Welcome to Life and Style with Francine. I am your host, Francine Walker, and let me tell you, guys, I have missed doing Life and Style with Francine. I've missed you all. I've missed having guests on the show. I have just missed the whole process. And this is actually episode 65. Woohoo! Episode 65. And I'm excited about my next guest, who is a first time author, but she is no stranger to the entertainment industry. And let me tell you a little bit about my next guest. Alicia Godmosh is a veteran Atlanta-based film producer, writer, location manager, and author of the young adult sci-fi fantasy horror novel Retrograde, The Darkness. She's a world traveler who speaks 3 languages. She comes from an entertainment business family. Her late uncle, Wilmer Ames Jr., was editor-in-chief of the distinguished African-American news magazine Emerge Magazine. I know you guys remember that, right? Another uncle, Herbert K. Ames, became the first African-American model for Sears Corporation and later CEO and founder of the First Choice Bank. Currently, she wears multiple creative and business hats on both coasts. Her companies, Maxwell Films and Sunlight Casting, are based in Atlanta, while her work with the Bigger Picture Films, TBFF, is based in Los Angeles. Alicia serves as a producer on Married at First Sight. Oh, guys, I know we have a lot of fans of MAFS. In addition, she is married with a beautiful stepdaughter. So please join me in welcoming my girl to the show. One
Hi.
second, here we go. Hey.
Hi, gorgeous. How are you
Hi,
doing?
beautiful. Listen, you are gorgeous. Your eyes are amazing.
Oh, thank
Oh
you.
my God. Enviably amazing. So let's talk about is this your first novel?
This is my first novel, which is
Yay.
it was so great. Yeah. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have this project and
Yes.
so grateful to have this out in the world. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I was excited to be able to interview you because sci-fi, we everyone knows the godmother of sci-fi, Octavia Butler, right?
Yes. Oh my
You know,
God. I love her.
I know, right? So
Yeah.
here we are, 2020, more, I don't know if you were a fan of Lovecraft Country.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
of course, right? Mr.
Oh, of
Green.
course.
I mean, so you see more and more people getting
Mhm.
into sci-fi.
Yes.
Well, they've always been, but I
Yeah.
think it's coming more to the forefront. It's not just a blurred thing. It's now a mainstream thing. So talk about your new book.
Well, I love my book. It is so much fun, and it's called Retrograde the Darkness.
Yeah.
And basically, what it is about is this planet called Damara. And Damara is a planet that is in a parallel universe,
Yeah.
and the time is in the future. And there's this young woman, and her name is Isis, and she decides against her mother's admonitions
Yeah.
to go and join an elite military unit to fight what's called the retrograde. And the retrograde is something that comes along every 10 years, so every decade, and wreaks havoc on the planet.
Wow.
So she decides to go fight it, and basically what it is it's a supernatural force
Yeah.
that she ends up, going up against. And along the way, she meets some amazing warriors. There's an enigmatic and mysterious, warrior named Khalfani that she meets up with. Then she
Yeah.
meets up with another female warrior named Aurora. And Aurora and she also form this very strong bond. And the three of them kind of work together in trying to figure out how to battle this force.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty amazing. What I like about the book is that it has like so many different dynamics and relationships. So
Yeah.
even though it's set in like you know, a another universe, you know, it's still something that we can all relate to. The characters are characters that we can relate to. The relationships
Sure.
are dynamics that we can, you know, identify with.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of that, you know, part of it. And you know, I hope people just go out there and get it and read it and have fun. But it's
Yeah.
so funny because you were talking about how we're just now getting into like showcasing our abilities into the sci-fi platform.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, and I, of course, my opinion is a little bit biased, but
I know. I know.
I think
Yeah.
that we have been like very instrumental in the founding of sci-fi. And I'm going to tell you why. Because my grandmother, I remember a
Yeah.
long time ago, my grandmother used to talk about a ghost train, right? She used to talk about a ghost train. She's like, I know you don't believe me and all this other stuff. But she said that sometimes she would go outside
Yeah.
and she would see a literal ghost train coming down, coming through. And she said she would see all the people on the train, and sometimes they'd wave to her and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah.
And she believed in aliens, and she would tell these stories about, you know,
Wow.
and I was like, wow. And I think that part of her influence is what got me into the possibility of,
Sure.
you know, these worlds and stuff. And so my grandmother was born in 1914, and you know, she lived to 88 years old. But you can imagine just growing up, me listening to those kinds of stories and stuff, that definitely
Sure.
shaped, you know, my viewpoint of our world and the possibilities
Yeah.
that we have as far as, you know,
Yeah.
other life forms and things like that. So it's just really interesting.
And you know, it's so interesting you say that because from what I read, this came to you, well, the first in a series,
Yes.
the
Yes.
first book in a series, um, Retrograde, the Darkness, came to you in dreams.
Yes. That's correct. It
Talk
was very
about that.
interesting. And
Yeah.
that's why I feel so grateful to have this story, because I remember I was on set for another movie
Yeah.
called His Killer Fan, which is a really good movie that's coming out. And
Okay.
so we were at a theater, and I was talking to my girlfriend who's like a spiritual guru, and she was just like, oh, you know what? We were talking about the Mercury, because Mercury retrograde, because Mercury was in retrograde at the time. And we we're
Yeah.
talking about like how, you know, basically how chaotic things are, how you shouldn't travel, how you shouldn't make major decisions during
Right.
that time. And
Don't
so,
download anything. Don't
yeah,
send
don't
anything.
download anything.
Watch
So,
your computers. Yes.
exactly. So we were talking about that, and I was like, oh my God, you know, but a couple years ahead of that, I had done research on Steven Spielberg. And Steven Spielberg was talking about the whisper, right? And he was like, you know, that you have a good idea. Like, people have good ideas, and then people have great ideas. But you know that you have a great idea when you hear the whisper. So what happened was is that as I was talking to my girlfriend backstage, I legit heard the whisper. And it told me that basically this was my story. It was my story to write. And then after I spoke with her from that night and for a number of other nights afterwards, I dreamed this book, and I would wake up the next day and I would write what I had dreamed the night before, and it was in chronological order. So
Wow.
literally
You
at
show?
the end of this series of dreams, I had my conclusion. And that's how the duology was born.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you say duology, you're saying that there was a second book.
Yes. Yes. There's definitely, I'm actually working on that now. It's already been outlined and everything like that, even with the first, because I had the whole story. So I outlined the
Yeah.
first book and wrote that. And then now I'm doing the second one. And I'm already on page 81. But the whole story is just like, you know, ready to go. So I'm just
Yeah.
writing that out. And yeah, so there's going to be a second part to it, and I'm so excited to bring
Yeah.
that out. And I'm thinking it's going to be out probably like August, September, the latest of next year.
Yeah.
Um, Hopefully a little bit earlier than that, though.
Would you say that you more than likely inherited a gift from your grandmother? We don't talk a lot about, we don't talk as much as we should about sci-fi magic because it has been demonized to some degree.
Yeah.
But my God,
Yeah.
we needed that in 2020. We
Yeah.
needed to, we needed to remember, you know, the strength and what our ancestors endured, and they did not endure it without faith and
Yes.
magic. Yes,
Yeah.
I said it.
Yeah.
They did not endure those things. So I believe she saw those ghosts.
Yeah. I do too. I actually do. And I've never forgotten those stories that she would tell me about it. And the
And
thing
they
is
probably
that,
kept her. They were probably, you know, they didn't come to harm. They probably were protecting her, right? So you know, it's like I would believe that, and it's fascinating because that's how many stories, how many other stories did she have that, you say duology, but you may have a series.
well, that's the thing too, is that actually I feel like we have a duology here, but then there are so many ways to create prequels,
Yeah.
for this duology, and those going into deeper depth about these characters and stuff. I really could go on forever about each one of them. They're so
Hey,
different. And
yes.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But when you get a gift when you've gotten a gift like this, first of all, I think it's amazing and just a fascinating part of your story where it was almost like Noah, where
Yeah.
God was giving him specifics. Talk about that process where you heard these dreams and then you put it to paper. What does that look like?
Well, it was just interesting because the whole story would play out to me like a film, So it was literally like when I was sleeping and dreaming,
Yeah.
I was seeing the story, and then I just could not wait till the next morning to just get up, and I would write down every detail that I
Yeah.
saw in my dream, the
Yeah.
conversations, everything, what the sky looked like, what they
Wow.
were wearing, all those things, and I just typed it, I just downloaded everything. And it just continued and continued, and that's why I am.
What did that feel like, Alicia? I mean,
It's
it's like,
it's
first of all, we should remind the audience that you are a film producer,
yes.
you're a writer, and you do location shoots, or so that is your capacity to be able to see, right? So
Yeah.
that just simply transferred and kind of coagulated with your other gift inherited from your ancestors. So you had that transferable gift skill where it's like I can see it because this is what you do.
Yeah. and
Yeah.
and so, but I was just so filled with gratitude, Francine. I mean, I was just, and I think that's the whole thing, is that when you recognize where these things are coming from, and you recognize that it's a gift that you've been given, you
Yeah.
have to really just treat it with such care and
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah.
And that, I just woke up with a spirit of gratitude every morning, and I
Yeah.
thought, you know what, I cannot believe this is playing out to me in chronological order. I cannot believe that
Wow.
I am seeing details in clothing, and in devices that they are using, in personality traits. I mean, this is
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
you don't just, it just doesn't happen every day,
Not not not
especially
at
the
all.
way this played out to me. And
Right.
again, because of the fact that this is something that I do, I was able to then transfer those visions into words and descriptive words so that people could visualize themselves. But that's another thing. Like, I feel like for this book, I would love to see it, made into a film, because certain people are very, very visual, It may take a lot for them to sit down and actually read something. But I would love for everybody actually to experience what I saw. And I feel like if this was a film, then everybody would be able to really live in that space the way I did. And it was just really fascinating. And it's escapism, and sometimes we need that in this crazy world to just be someplace else and to live, in another time and another, time and space and see what that looks like, see what that feels like, and, endure challenges with, others, other characters and stories and see how they navigate through that processes. Sometimes we end up learning something ourselves or about ourselves that can help us in life. So that's really how I felt writing this. I just felt so grateful to have the story and to be able to share that, with others.
Yeah. I hear screenplay adaptation.
I'm hearing that too.
And I'm sure you're seeing it, with the gift you have. I'm sure you're seeing it already. I mean, it almost sounds as if this is just the first step, because it's like, this is your first novel. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I understand that although it is geared towards young adults, it's not necessarily limited to young adults.
No, because I grew up I grew up reading Marvel comics and stuff like that. So when the Marvel series started coming out, and I remember especially when the first couple of X-Men movies that came out, the first couple, I was in the theater the day they were released, and I loved it so much. And even like the whole series of X-Men movies I've watched. And so for this, it's also like geared toward those people that if you appreciate science fiction, I think that you will just really appreciate reading this book and, seeing the adaptation. And I'm going to go ahead and claim that right now.
Hey,
but seeing that adaptation play out, you're
it's
really
in the universe.
Yes, actually.
In the mini universes, right?
Exactly. So I think that everybody will be able to enjoy it. So it's for all ages. Anybody that loves sci-fi, and even if you just love, relationships and dynamics and seeing how love plays out. There's so many, storylines and things and in this one plot that I feel like everybody can find something that they will find enjoyable and in which they can identify and
and it has to be complex. The characters are complex, the lusciousness of the story, just the intrigue of sci-fi. I have to mention that, today is kind of related, but related. We lost our beloved Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman. 2-3 months ago. And then today, coincidentally, I have you here on the show and you talk about Marvel Comics, and his last movie is debuting tonight, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. So, we still have, and everybody is like, well, Shuri, and I love that your character is a woman. The protagonist is a woman. So you get to see more female warriors, so to speak.
But you know where I get that from, Francine, is that my mother, she had 5 children. I have 4 brothers. They're all older than me.
Okay.
Which meant that I did not date for a long time, but we'll get into that on it. Yeah, I'll sidebar that conversation because they're gladiators. They're like all huge.
Sure.
Anyway, my father died at a young age. He died of cancer.
Yeah. Oh,
and she was left to raise all of us. And despite the fact that my father had passed, she went on to, go from being, a dental assistant to an LPN. So she studying nursing, Then she became a registered nurse. Then she became a director of nursing, and she retired as a director of nursing. So she went from a very small salary, by herself,
Sure.
after my father died, to making a 6-figure salary by herself,
Yeah.
and in the meantime, like between those 2 points, she was working sometimes 3 jobs, to make ends meet. She never gave us up for adoption, although I'm nothing against that processes or whatever. I'm no shade to
Yeah,
anybody, but
absolutely.
yeah, but she could have done that and people would have understood why, but she never did that. She kept us. And then another thing was, she never even allowed herself to get on any kind of governmental assistance either.
Sure.
She was like, I'm not doing that. That's not me. I'm going to do whatever it takes and I'm going to make this work. And
Yeah.
she went out there and killed it. And so for me, she's like growing up with that kind of an example of a warrior that's a woman, and somebody that I would see every day. I
Yeah.
knew that, this story, had to be about, all of these. It had to be like uh basically,
Embodiment.
huh?
Embodiment of your
Yes.
mom. Yeah.
An embodiment of my mother, and also it had to show respect to all of those other women
Yes.
out there that are doing the same thing for their children, that are putting themselves through it, that are maybe enduring things themselves. Maybe they themselves are going through an illness and they're out there and they have children, or they have a husband, or they're just by themselves and they're making it. They're pushing themselves through. They're doing better. They're trying to be good examples despite their circumstances. All of these women warriors we have walking around, a
Yeah.
lot of, whom have not been appreciated and, recognized. This book is to say, I see you,
Yeah.
and I appreciate you,
Yeah.
so that's why it had to be a female,
Yeah.
because we're
Yeah.
so strong. All of us are so strong, and we do so much, and sometimes
Sure.
we don't give ourselves enough credit. So
Yeah.
this was my, offering to those women.
Yeah. Well, I know they will accept the homage to their strength and to, because as warriors, it's not all pretty, as we'll see in the book, that the things that she goes through, but she takes on this mantle to save the world. And isn't that essentially what we're doing as mothers, contributing to the world, in a significant, contributing to the world with our children in a significant way that will add to society, that
Yes.
ultimately saves society,
Right.
Right? So, I mean, kudos to you for using those influences, your mom, other moms. I mean, right now there are people that are taking on that mantle right now in the age of, unfortunately, COVID, where we have lost, a number of lives, and a lot of homes have been left without one parent or another. So,
that's right.
you know,
And then not only that, Francine, but imagine how many women have actually given up
oh,
their
girl,
careers
come on.
in order to stay at home
Would
and
you?
to
Okay.
actually, be there to teach their children.
Yes.
I mean, it's
Yes.
staggering.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So we've got the duology. You've got, the book is out now, available on all platforms, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, right? And what's next after this? Are you promoting at this point?
I am promoting it at this point, and in addition to that, I'm working on a number of different film projects. I just got back a couple days ago from a Netflix project that I really love, and I'm so privileged and grateful that I was a part of that. I have a
Okay.
number of other projects that I'm working on, and I'm just really excited. I
Yeah.
cannot wait to share these projects with the world, and
Yeah.
and then again, to share the second part of the duology with the world as well. I mean, I'm just so grateful. I really feel blessed, and you're gonna see a lot more of.
I'm sure. I'm excited, Alicia. Talk a little bit about so you are not just an author. I have to reemphasize, give you your flowers today. You're a film producer,
Yeah.
writer. You scout out locations, correct?
Yes.
And then you have your own companies.
Yes.
How did you come to what made you go into the entertainment industry? Was it your family? Because we talked about your uncles.
Yeah.
Was it their influence? What made you decide to go into this industry?
Well, in addition to my relatives, I think it's just always been a calling. There's something very, very different about the energy that you will find
Yeah.
on a film set, or
Yeah.
doing this type of work with writing. The creative energy space is something that has always, been my calling. I've always been drawn to it in one way
Sure.
or the other. And I found that as soon as I got on my first television set, it was almost like a drug to me. Like I just had
Yeah.
to keep coming back. It was something that
Sure.
was injected in my veins and my soul, and I just kept coming right back. I tried corporate America, and it was fun, and I didn't have a terrible time in corporate America. I did well, but it was just still not something that I found creatively stimulating. And that was something that I needed. So eventually I found my way back to the entertainment industry, and I've just loved it ever since.
Yeah.
I've been doing this full time, and I even in college I did some background talent roles and stuff like that, and that was fun. But I realized that the reason why I kept doing that is because I didn't want to give up on the industry. I didn't want to just not have any involvement with it. So I just kept coming back, and then finally things just kind of took a life of their own. And I remember I was working on this Amazon show, and I stepped on board that show, and I knew I was home. Like after I stepped on board and I was on, in the production office, I was like, I am literally at home here. And that was the first time I ever felt so at home while I was at work. And I just knew that I wasn't going anywhere else. I thought,
That's
this is where I
amazing.
belong. Yeah. So
That is a very fortunate way to live. That is so rich.
it is.
To be able to find your niche, find your purpose, and it's like it feels like just breathing. That
Yeah.
to me is really the ultimate goal that we all should be striving for.
It should never feel like work. And that's the thing, is
Yeah.
that you have to be like, because for me, like I said, I tried other avenues of whatever.
Sure.
But if you're in a situation where your work is not fulfilling, it becomes a drain of mental, energy, of physical energy. A lot of people work in these jobs and they make themselves sick over it, because it's not where they really belong, and so sometimes people have to do what they have to do. I get it. But at the same time, make sure that, like for me, I had to make sure that I had, a connection with something that really, really, I was in love with, something that didn't feel like I was working, all the time. I've literally worked through the night, not
I bet.
sleeping.
I just saw that when we were just talking. I swear when you said it doesn't feel like work, and we will work through the night because it doesn't feel like work. It's like, I know I got to go to bed, but I can't yet. And you're such an intuitive, and probably where it's like, you did the 9 to 5 thing or attempted to, and it's like,
no,
your spirit would not let you.
No,
because it was like, Alicia, I need you over here. I need you to go this way so that you can end up here, and then you're able to write this book.
Because let me tell you, I did 12 hours on set, and then I came back home, and then I started writing. So there were many nights when I would just go home right through the night.
Yep.
And then like have hours of sleep and then just go right back and do it all over again. So
how long did it take you to write the book? Because you kind of had the blueprint inside of you,
yes.
and you were just plotting. And the thing is, you were doing a little bit at a time and still able to retain what you had dreamed. I mean, that is magical in and of itself.
Yeah. And that's why I feel so privileged to have this experience, because literally it was. I still am in awe when I think about the whole process, is the fact that, this is something that happened. This is something that
we've had a little lights change here. Sorry about that. Keep going.
Okay.
We're gonna keep going.
Okay. Well, this is something that happened, and this was something that was so incredibly enjoyable, and something that I was able to do.
Sure.
And I was still able to work productively even through the night, despite having worked on other projects, that same day or the day before or whatever, so that's why I'm really grateful for it. Just the whole experience.
Yes. I apologize for that. The adapter sometimes gets too hot and it does what it does. So forgive me for that. But
no, I actually I totally get that, because my phone, I just want to make sure that it does not die.
I know.
As soon as I get that little warning, I might have to plug it in.
Exactly. And that's okay, because what happens, and that is my time. It's like, you got 30 minutes, Fran. And I guess it was like, let me know that the time is ticking. But yes, that is good. I appreciate, again, I'm going to play the trailer for the book.
Okay.
And then don't go away, because we got a couple of housekeeping things we need to do that we discussed. And so let me just go ahead now, pull that up real quick. Thank you so much. What an amazing story. I'm just in awe and just encouraged to be open and stay open to the whisper.
Oh, yes. Definitely. I encourage everybody to stay open to that, because if you trim down that psychic noise, one day you will hear it, and that will be your calling. So you should definitely keep all the negativity out of your life. And if you're looking for it, if you're seeking it, it will definitely find you.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me pull up the I have it here, the trailer, and here we go. Wow. And just to note, that is not the movie that we are looking forward to, but that is to put us in the mind of the catastrophe, the apocalyptic catastrophe that we can anticipate inside of the story. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Yeah, it has been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to reading the book and
Thank
reading the second book and then seeing the screenplay.
Yes.
And I can't wait to see that come to fruition and say, I interviewed her. You'll have to come back for the second book, Alicia.
I will. I would love to. Thank you so much for having me, Francine.
You have an open invitation to come back next year with the second part of the duology.
I appreciate it. I would love to be here. It's been an honor today, and it would be an honor next year as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, hon.
Thank you.
And have a great weekend, okay?
All right, you too.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.